I thought life after graduation would just be a series of dull, ordinary days of renting. But then my new roommate pushed open the door and walked in. She was a goddess with a cold aura, yet stunningly beautiful. Even a casual glance from her could make one's heart race. Even her suitcase was unbelievably heavy, as if it concealed a secret that could never be told. In the darkness of the night, the roadside charcoal fire was burning brightly. The grease on the iron grill sizzled. Jiang Chuan raised his beer glass. He took a big gulp and patted my shoulder. His eyes held an unspoken farewell. Lao, si. My bus ticket is for 7 in the morning. I won't make any noise when I leave. You take good care of yourself. His gaze passed over me, falling on the neon-lit night sky. It was the night view of Zhangcheng that he had seen countless times, but tonight felt like the last time he would see its reflection in the water. We've been roommates since our freshman year of college. He's Lao San, I'm Lao Si. 3 years into college, I had to take a year off due to an unexpected accident. When I returned to school, I had become a junior to my peers. He graduated and started navigating the real world. I stayed at school to continue my studies. In just 1 short year, he had been worn down by his job to the point of having no regrets leaving. In the end, he chose to give up his dream in this city, to go back to his hometown and find a stable job, to live a peaceful life. I can understand his plans, and I respect them. What do you plan to do when you get back? I asked. Jiang Chuan smirked. His smile revealed a hint of exhaustion. Find a job with full benefits and a housing fund, then go on blind dates to find a girl with similar circumstances to marry. A peaceful life like that is good enough for many young people. Blind dates are mostly an unavoidable step. For now, I'm still safe. My parents haven't started nagging me yet, although I know that day probably isn't far off. Lao San, I feel like we went to college for nothing. We haven't even been in a relationship, I lamented, half joking. You've really never been in love. Jiang Chuan raised an eyebrow. What kind of relationship do we have? Why are you still pretending? I've been single for 23 years, since birth. After saying that, I felt a tightness in my chest. Jiang Chuan was silent for 2 seconds, as if coaxing a child. He patted my shoulder again. We clinked our glasses and finished the rest of the beer under the dim yellow streetlights. We supported each other as we walked towards our rented place. It was a 2-bedroom, 1 living room apartment. Less than 90 square meters, old and simple, but cheap, perfect for a recent graduate like me. I've already told the landlord, I'm moving out tomorrow. The room will be rented out again soon. Get along with your new roommate. Okay. After saying that, he went into his room. I stood in the empty living room. A faint sense of loss welled up inside me. If the new roommate is difficult to live with, it'll all be another hassle. But I can't afford to rent the whole place by myself. I have no choice but to accept it. After showering, I casually picked up my phone and opened a familiar game, TIMI. During the year I took off, I was often at home recuperating. This game became my only source of entertainment. My skills have gotten much better than they were in high school. At the champion select screen, I decisively banned Zhuangzhu and locked in Miyamoto Musashi. In less than 10 minutes, I sent the opponent off on their way. My final score was 705. It was as epic as a promotional video, but it didn't spark any excitement in me. The game is still here, but the people I used to play with have all gone their separate ways. I turned off my phone and opened my computer. I logged into the authors section. I had just registered an account last week and started writing a novel. It was inspired by my best friend from high school, but because I'm busy with work during the day, the updates are very slow. The word count doesn't even meet the site's recommendation requirements yet. Almost no one reads it. But tonight, I discovered a reader named Mua Saobang Su Tu. They sent a small gift and also left a comment. Very good. Keep it up. Author, this encouragement from a stranger is more precious than the small gift to a new author. My fingertips immediately started flying across the keyboard. That motivation I hadn't felt in a long time kept me writing straight until 1 in the morning. When I couldn't fight off sleep any longer, I closed my laptop and climbed into bed. The next day, around 11 o'clock, with my hair a mess, I pushed open my bedroom door. There was no sign of Jiang Chuan in the next room. I felt an emptiness inside. The people who had been by my side were leaving. One by one, I was halfway through washing my face when I heard footsteps outside. Wearing slippers, I peeked out and saw Uncle Jiang, the landlord. Behind him was a girl. No, I should say a goddess who had stepped out of a painting. Her long, straight black hair fell over her shoulders. Her skin was as white as snow, delicate eyebrows and eyes. She wore no makeup. October in Zhangcheng was already getting chilly, but she was dressed lightly, which in turn accentuated her slender and charming figure. At this moment, I looked at the landlord. Xiao Lai, your new roommate. The two of them just signed the contract. Uncle Jiang smiled as if he'd just gotten lucky. He rented Jiang Chuan's room to a girl. I was a bit stunned, thinking about having to live with someone like her. My heart suddenly started pounding like a drum. My face also flushed inexplicably. My toes wiggled restlessly inside my slippers. Uncle Jiang snorted. Aren't there only men and women in this world? Why such a big reaction? Huh, she's only staying for a month. I couldn't help but complain. 1 month. Yao'd rented out for that. The girl paid me 3 months' rent. Uncle Jiang spread his hands. His reasoning was sound. How could I refuse? He said. then smiled at the girl. You kids talk among yourselves. I'm going downstairs to play chess with my old buddies. A light fragrance lingered in the air. My scalp tingled as I spoke up. My name is Lei Huangshuan. What's your name? Lin Ximen. Her voice was clear but didn't carry much expression. That's a nice name. How about I call you Meng Meng? She just gave me a faint glance. She didn't answer, and started to walk around the living room, observing. A place inhabited by two men was, of course, unbearably messy. The corners were piled with miscellaneous items. The coffee table looked like a battlefield. She frowned slightly. After pacing around twice, she went downstairs to get her luggage. I felt I had to show some gentlemanly conduct, so I quickly followed. She had two suitcases, one big and one small. As a guy, I took the larger suitcase, but I almost lost my footing. It was as heavy as if it were filled with scrap iron. I silently complained to myself, is this thing filled with a whole suitcase of weights? I gritted my teeth and slowly moved the suitcase up to the 4th floor. She was behind me and asked with a laugh, do you need a hand? Are you kidding? I can do it. I tried to be strong, but your face is all red. It's just the sun. I lied seriously. She just smiled and shook her head. Men, it's normal to want to save face. Zaimong went into the bedroom and started cleaning up the mess Jiang Chuan had left behind. I closed the door and stayed in my room, but my ears were quietly perked up, listening to the sounds from the next room. Am I really about to live with this goddess who seems to have descended from the clouds and start a life together? Around noon, there were 2 soft knocks on my door. Is there a market nearby? Let's go buy some groceries. I'll cook lunch today. Lin Zaimong's voice carried an undeniable tone. Coming through the door, my fingers paused on the keyboard. I looked up, unable to help but frown. Cooking yourself. Since moving in, the kitchen has basically been for show. For me and Jiang Xuan, pots and pans were just decorations. On weekdays, we eat at the company cafeteria. On weekends, we eat at the small restaurant downstairs or order takeout. Why bother going to the trouble of cooking? No way, never in a million years. She stood at the door in her slippers, her expression calm. From now on, I'll cook. Y'all be in charge of washing the dishes. I instinctively wanted to refuse, assent ordering takeout better. Lin Zaimong shook her head upon hearing that. Takeout is greasy and unhealthy. I'll give you 1 minute to get ready. Go to the market with me. Her tone was exactly like my mom's when she forced me to do homework in elementary school. Very familiar. Not far from the residential area, there was a small market. It was bustling with people but sufficient for daily needs. When Lin Ximen arrived here, she seemed to instantly become a different person. Her steps were light, her smile radiant. She chatted with the vegetable vendor like an old neighbor, carrying bell peppers, potatoes, and fresh pork ribs. Her selection process was so skillful it made one wonder if she had lived here for many years. I followed behind. My gaze couldn't help but linger on her several times. She looked like an illustration that had suddenly strayed into the mundane world. A character so beautiful she glowed, yet she blended vividly into this noisy yet authentic market scene. This sense of contrast left me a little dazed. I feel like I've seen her somewhere before. I shook my head, dismissing the thought. In life, such illusions often occur, like seeing a stranger's smile on the street and thinking you've seen it in a dream. After one round, my hands were weighed down with several heavy bags. She walked ahead, humming a gentle melody. That tune entered my ears, as if gently stirring a deeply buried old memory. But I couldn't recall its origin at that moment. When we got home, I didn't even have time to sit down before she charged into battle, pulling me into the kitchen. She assigned tasks: wash vegetables, peel garlic, peel skins, inspect. I slowly got to work. This was more tiring than going to my job. Most importantly, she was of deep analysis. I still had to wash the dishes after eating. From the bottom of my heart, I felt it wasn't as good as ordering takeout. But Lin Ximen didn't just know how to cook. Her presence in the kitchen was even more natural than her aura at the market earlier. Tying on an apron, her movements were neat and decisive. Her gaze was focused, each action exuding proficiency. In less than half an hour, the dining table was filled with 3 dishes and 1 soup: sweet and sour pork ribs, stir-fried meat, stir-fried potatoes with bell peppers, and tomato egg soup. They were everyday dishes, but the aroma was intoxicating. I stood by the table, momentarily dazed. She hadn't asked about my preferences, but the flavor of every dish was exactly to my liking. So, praise me. She sat down across from me, the corners of her lips holding a hint of anticipation. I answered honestly, I really didn't expect you to know how to cook. Is that a compliment? She raised an eyebrow. I quickly tried to salvage the situation. It's amazing. Really. My nearsightedness makes my world blurry all year round. But at this moment, separated by a table of food, my gaze was fixed on her face, so exquisite that I couldn't find a single flaw. That familiar feeling washed over me again like an undercurrent. I feel like I've met you somewhere before. I finally said it. Her movements paused for a second. Her gaze immediately sharpened. Her body leaned forward slightly, and the distance between us quickly shortened. That faint fragrance wafted into my breath. I could only panic and look away. Shim ph. When you guys meet a beautiful girl, your lines are always so cliché. She quickly pulled back, and I could only lower my head and stuff stir-fried potatoes into my mouth to hide my embarrassment. I have to say, her cooking skills were far better than the small restaurant I frequented. She placed a piece of sweet and sour pork ribs into my bowl before picking up her own chopsticks. Only then did I realize I should have served her first. Meng, what did you come to Jiangcheng for? I casually started a conversation. She glanced at me. Meng is fine. Don't be so formal. Can I really call you that? She nodded. She said she was 20 years old, used to be an office worker, and wanted to travel after quitting her job. So she chose Jiangcheng. She felt that renting was more economical than staying in a hotel. And after meeting Uncle Jiang, she was persuaded to pay 3 months rent up front. On the surface, it sounded fine, but I always felt there was something unsaid hidden in her tone. A month isn't long, but it's not short either. But at least we had enough time to be together. This meal was much better than the takeout I used to eat, bringing a warmth of life to this house for the first time. After eating, I resigned myself to washing the dishes at the sink. I was thinking I'd take a nap later, but then Lin Zimong's voice rang out from behind me. General cleaning this afternoon. The bowl in my hand almost slipped. What do you mean? Literally, this house, under the long-term management of me and Zhang Chuan, had long since developed a chaotic order. I thought it was clean enough, but she clearly had higher standards. And so, a reluctant man and a demanding woman began a tug-of-war on a Saturday afternoon. No one sees under the sofa. Why pull it out? The socks under the bed are mine, but the tissues are Zhang Chuan's. Don't look at me with that misunderstanding gaze. Do we have to wipe the whole floor with a cloth? Are you a bank auditor? We have to clean the outside of the windows too. Are you testing my sense of balance? My complaints became the background music as we coordinated awkwardly, but we still managed to turn this long-standing male dorm-style room upside down. When dusk fell, I was sprawled on the sofa, my back aching all over. I'm not doing any more. You can't handle this much, and you say you're capable. Lin Zimong glanced at me, a triumphant glint in her eyes. The last rays of sunlight slowly slipped in through the window, bathing the sparkling clean living room in a warm golden hue. Lin Zimong stood in that golden glow, the lines of her body outlined in a soft, dreamlike golden light. She turned her head and smiled, and the streak of light seemed to smile with her. You've worked hard all afternoon. Let's go have hot pot tonight. Consider it a reward, she suggested very naturally. I was collapsed on the sofa, too lazy to even lift a finger. There are still leftovers from lunch. We can just reheat them for dinner. Why bother going out and getting tired? But she immediately vetoed it like a judge. No, today is the first day we've known each other. A day like this needs a bit of ceremony. I mumbled to myself. We're just living together for a month. We're not lovers. Where does the ceremony come from? I was about to find an excuse to get out of it when the weather forecast I saw this morning suddenly flashed in my mind. It might rain tonight. Let's just forget it. She directly dismissed my words. If you can believe the weather forecast, even Qin Shi Huang would have to bow to me. I've already picked a place. It's just a few steps away. As it turns out, a few steps in her dictionary means a whole half-hour-long walk. The road under the plane trees was covered in autumn leaves. We walked on a golden carpet. Lin Zimong walked beside me, looking exactly like the female lead in an idol drama, attracting countless gazes from the guys. Those envious stares made me feel a little smug. At least my vanity index went up a bit today. The hot pot restaurant was steaming with warmth. As soon as we sat down, the waiter brought the menu. Lin Zimong didn't hold back at all. She picked up the pen and quickly circled items on the menu. 3 minutes later, she pushed the menu over. See if there's anything else you want to order. I glanced at it, and there was that strange sense of déjà vu again. All the dishes were exactly my favorites. It was as if she were my long-lost foodie soulmate. I held back. I really don't need to order anything else. This is enough. I closed the menu and handed it back. The waiter enthusiastically recommended the restaurant's signature trunkfish. Would you two like to try a portion? No, thanks, Lin Zimong and I said almost in unison. We couldn't help but look at each other and smile. The distance between us shortened in that moment. You don't like fish either, I probed. She raised her teacup and took a small sip. Not really. My eyes suddenly darkened. I stopped eating fish after I turned 18. Every time I see fish, it reminds me of a friend. He was very good, very outstanding, but his fate was not good, while a useless person like me is living just fine. 5 years ago, I was still running around the schoolyard, my head filled with naive dreams of the future. Now that I've left school and just stepped into the workplace, it's like being shackled, a mechanical job, a meager salary that sometimes requires my parents' support. Like many people my age, feeling lost has become the norm. Lin Zimong asked softly, your friend, was he once deeply in love? I looked up. How did you guess? She smiled. Outstanding people are often well loved. Then she suddenly changed the subject. You haven't ever been in love, have you?" That sentence was like a small knife, precisely stabbing my weak spot. Her smile looked harmless, but it was hard to resist. I quickly asked back, "Did you come to Jiangcheng because of something unpleasant? A breakup?" She sighed. "You could say that. I want to find some memories again." Hearing that she also had a heartache, I suddenly felt a little more balanced inside. Even a beautiful girl like her can run into a jerk. "Let's not talk about unpleasant things anymore." She raised her hand, and the jade bracelet on her wrist gently clinked together, producing a clear sound. She raised her teacup. "Cheers, my roommate. Here's to a happy month of living together." After all the dishes were served, Lin Ziman very naturally served me food. Tripe, beef, and duck intestines were placed in my bowl one after another. Her actions added a touch of tenderness to this dinner, and also made me feel a bit unused to it. The combination of dominance and delicacy was a heart-stirring mix. Halfway through the meal, a light rain started to fall outside the window. The weather forecast is occasionally right after all. "I told you we shouldn't have gone out, and you're dressed so lightly." I clumsily showed my concern for her. She smiled and shook her head. "The most beautiful is not the rainy day, but the eves where we once sheltered from the rain together." She was only wearing a thin black jacket, with a white t-shirt underneath. We were still inside now, but I was afraid she would be cold when we went out later. Countless TV drama scenes played out in my head. The guy taking off his coat and putting it on the girl. But I kept hesitating, not knowing how to do it without being too abrupt. When it was time to pay, she quickly paid the bill. "My treat tonight. Your treat tomorrow. Tomorrow happens to be Sunday. You don't have to work," she said lightly, leaving the restaurant. The rain was falling harder. A gust of wind was bone-chilling. Taxis on the roadside whizzed by one after another, but none were empty. Finally, I gritted my teeth and took off the jacket on my shoulders, draping it over hers. My toes tensed up inside my shoes, as if afraid of making a wrong move. She turned back to look at me. Her eyes were like a vase illuminated by the lights. "Aren't you cold? The hot pot is hot. My whole body has warmed up." I pretended not to care. She gently pointed out, "Your arm is covered in goosebumps. They are congenital goosebumps." I forced a smile. Raindrops fell from the eaves. Her smile was as clear as a painting, while my wet bangs swayed gently, clumsy, yet strangely sincere. After waiting for more than 10 minutes, a car finally stopped. When we got home, we had truly become drowned rats. "You go take a shower first. You have to blow dry your hair, or you'll catch a cold," I said. And she glanced at me. "What about you?" "My hair is short. A quick wipe will do. When you come out, it'll go after." Lin Zimong didn't insist anymore and rushed into the bathroom, using the hot water to drive away the cold. A few minutes later, she came out smelling of shower gel and knocked on my door. "Okay, hurry and take a shower." As soon as I opened the door, she saw me holding my head, my expression a little pained. "What's wrong with you?" I squeezed out a smile. "It's nothing." Still the same stubborn act, but her eyes revealed a curious desire to ask. I rummaged through the drawer and took out a small white bottle of medicine. The cold plastic casing reminded me of a deserted hospital corridor. I poured out 2 pills. My palm was a little sweaty. Lin Ziman came back from the living room at this moment, holding a glass of water in her hand. She lowered her head to test the temperature first, before handing it over. The pill slid down my throat, like a stone sinking to the bottom of a lake. It took a while to dissolve. I felt the tension in my head gradually relax. I casually explained, 3 years ago, I was on a bus when we encountered a landslide. A rock fell and hit my head. I had to take a year off from school to recover." She frowned. "After effects." I shook my head. "It's almost healed. It hasn't acted up in a long time. It's probably because I was in the rain today." A flash of guilt crossed her eyes. "If I hadn't insisted on going for hot pot, then you wouldn't have." I deliberately grinned. "Don't worry. My head gets a little waterlogged sometimes. Adding a little more is good." After I said that, she just remained silent, not at all comforted by my lame joke. I sighed inwardly. As expected, when communicating with girls, Im's still very clumsy in this aspect. Her eyes were quickly drawn to the document on the computer. "You wrote this?" I was a little embarrassed. "The writing is just so-so. I just want to preserve his story." She scrolled to the beginning and started reading with her head down. Her expression was very focused. My whole body suddenly felt like I was in a classroom, being called on by the teacher. My palms started sweating. In less than 2 minutes, she finished reading and frowned. "The wording is a bit immature. The structure lacks conflict. The plot foreshadowing is a bit too straightforward." I clapped to interrupt her. "Can you compliment me first before criticizing?" The initial feeling of being touched by her getting me water was immediately diluted by this blunt, harsh comment. She smiled. "Telling the truth is the only way to help you improve." I tried to find the only comment to read to her. "Leo meteor shower. Very good. Keep it up, author." It was even accompanied by a free virtual gift. Many new authors are fumbling their way forward, relying on these small but warm words of encouragement to be able to persevere. She suddenly rested her chin on her hand, her body leaning slightly forward. The scent of her body wash was like an invisible thread piercing straight into my nose. "Do you have someone you like?" I coughed dryly. "Of course, I do." Her gaze was like a probing needle locked onto my face. "Really? Is she pretty?" Without thinking, "Prettier than you." A faint glimmer of disappointment appeared in the depths of her eyes. The air seemed to get colder by 1 degree. I then realized I had taken the joke too far. "All right, All right, you're the prettiest. I hurriedly corrected myself. Only then did she smile. The name in my heart. Zhu Wanting, a quiet girl from Jiangnan, but as gentle as a drizzle. We started working together a few months ago as newcomers to the workplace. Our topics and rapport all came from that shared sense of novelty. Over time, my feelings for her had quietly taken root. Jiang Chuan had advised me more than once to be bold, but every time the words reached my lips, I would back down. In the realm of romance, I'm always like an unprepared exam. Afraid to turn it in. I asked a question in return. So what was your ex-boyfriend like? She raised an eyebrow. Ex-boyfriend? Didn't you say you were heartbroken? And then came to Jiangcheng to get over it, she said casually. A good for nothing. Then stood up, go to bed early, and then left. I stared at her retreating back. That skirt hem. Her calves as white and smooth as fresh tofu. A faint fragrance lingered in the air, like an uninvited guest bursting into my world and starting to rewrite the rhythm of my life. At 7 in the morning the next day, she was banging on the door from outside. Li Huangshuan. Get up for breakfast. I groggily picked up my phone. If it weren't for the glaringly bright screen, I would have almost forgotten it was the weekend. For me, waking up only starts after 8 o'clock. What's the point of being up this early? I've already bought breakfast. She pushed the door open and walked in. In Uncle Zhang's old house, the bedroom doors don't even have locks. I panicked. Hey, I'm not even wearing pants. She pointed at the blanket. You're already covered. Wash up in 5 minutes and come out to eat. Bothered by her like this, I couldn't go back to sleep. I slowly went to brush my teeth, while still muttering under my breath. When I lived with Zhang Chuan, getting to eat lunch on the weekend was considered early. On the dining table was a plate of soup dumplings, 2 bowls of century egg and pork congee, and a plate of kimchi. She was eating congee with her chopsticks. While scrolling through her phone, I directly grabbed a dumpling to eat. From now on, let's just eat breakfast separately. I have a habit of sleeping in. No, breakfast is the most important meal, she replied as if reciting from memory. I squinted my eyes. This style really reminds me of my mother. She handed me a printed piece of paper. This is the co-tenancy agreement I wrote. Just follow it from now on. I looked down at it. The militarized schedule from my senior year of high school flashed back in my mind. The agreement stipulated bathroom usage times, the areas for placing belongings, the daily cleaning schedule, volume limits, and so on. The rules were detailed to an exaggerated degree. I endured it, but the last few items made me explode. Why do I have to wake up at 7? The day starts in the morning. Lazy people have no future, she said seriously. You have to be home before 10 at night. What the hell is this now? If you wake up early, you have to sleep early. If you come back late, y'all disturb me. I was silent for a moment, looking at this roommate who fell from the sky. I suddenly suspected whether she came to be a roommate or to reform my life. After breakfast, she came out of her room, changed into a very delicate-looking outfit. The light beige long dress had an uneven hemline, but it perfectly accentuated her waist. She wore a clean denim jacket over it, and on her feet were a pair of round-toed flats. Looking quiet and soft, her straight, smooth black hair flowed over her shoulders like water, exuding an aura between innocence and charm. She looked up and smiled at me, and asked gently, I want to go out and buy some things. Do you want to come with me? I shook my head without hesitation. No, I'm not going. In my heart, this was considered a principled refusal. A man can't always be submissive and accommodating. That clearly unfair co-tenancy agreement. She just pursed her lips lightly. Without arguing, she picked up her bag and walked out the door. Her whole figure was like a cool breeze, disappearing at the end of the hallway. The room suddenly became quiet again. I sighed and went back to my room with my head down. I opened my laptop. I originally intended to glance at the novel's management page data, then lie down to catch up on sleep. But as soon as I glanced over, the reader named Leo Meteor Shower sent a new message. The enthusiasm seemed to want to jump out of the screen. Author, your story is really good, I cried while reading it. Boo. Who? Sending a small virtual gift, by the way. This feeling of being genuinely praised is truly addictive. It turns out the words I type can also be cherished by others. It's magical. My whole body felt like it was being pushed by an invisible force. My sleepiness evaporated instantly. Catching up on sleep. Who needs sleep? My keyboard is the main character today. Lines of text quickly appeared under my fingertips. Emotions and stories all seemed to have an outlet. I remembered the 800-word essays from my school days. That could make me tear my hair out. Now I can sit here and write 3 chapters in one go. It must be because I have conviction in my heart. Even if there's only one reader, I have to finish writing it. This is an explanation for my deceased best friend. Time was typed away just like that, until I heard the sound of the lock turning. I realized I had been sitting for several hours without noticing. Lin Zeming was back. She was holding a large cardboard box in her arms. Inside was half a balcony's worth of green plants, poinsettias, orchids, and even a rosemary plant with its most prominent fresh scent. I glared at her. You're only staying for a month. Why buy so many flowers and plants? She answered me seriously. It doesn't matter how long I stay. What's important is to live each day well. After I leave, you have to take good care of them. Her fussiness left me speechless. I even suspected there was something wrong with her head. I can't even take care of myself, and now I have to grow flowers. She hummed a tune, placing the pots on the windowsill. Sunlight seeped into every leaf. The whole room seemed to have a new breath of fresh air. Your smile flies with the wind, carrying the scent of rosemary. She sang softly, her tone like mint with a hint of coquettishness. I leaned against the door, watching her, feeling strange inside. It's only been one day, and this place already has a bit of the warmth of a home. Thinking back to my previous sloppy life with Zhang Chuan, even the air was stiff, not at all the soft atmosphere of now. She turned around, smiling brightly. I bought 2 steaks. Later, I'll pick some rosemary to pan-sear them for you to try. Domineering and gentle, switched effortlessly on her. How strange. As the saying goes, it's awkward to accept food from others. During lunch, I casually probed. You've just arrived in Zhongcheng. You don't know the place or the people. If you need any help, just say so. She immediately replied. Okay then, let's go for a walk together this afternoon. I raised an eyebrow. I was just being polite. She was unfazed, but I took you seriously. Very quickly, cleaning the kitchen fell to me again. Thinking about the number of dishes I'll have to wash in the next month. It might be more than the last 20 years combined. I endured it. Her cooking skills were enough to shut me up. At 2 in the afternoon, we went out together. The first destination she chose was Zhongcheng University. In my heart, it was a place not worth worrying about, as small as the palm of my hand. What's there to see? She squinted her eyes and smiled. I just wanted to come and see it. The autumn campus has a great atmosphere. The scent of osmanthus flowers wafted in the wind. Ginkgo leaves on the ground were swept up by the gentle breeze. Like a flock of yellow butterflies, she walked ahead, her skirt fluttering in the wind. The jade bracelet on her wrist made a small clinking sound under the sunlight. I remembered what she said yesterday. She started working at 20. She probably never went to university, so it's not surprising that she finds the campus novel. Her appearance was very striking here. Soon, someone couldn't help but run up to start a conversation. Hey classmate, what's your major? Can I have your phone number? She stopped and called me sweetly. Honey, hurry up. Are you still busy looking for ants on the road? The guy immediately got the hint and retreated, and couldn't help but glance at me with envy. A beautiful flower stuck in a pile of cow dung. I quickened my pace to follow, teasing with my words. Pretending to be your boyfriend isn't part of my job description. She shot me a glare. You want to charge an extra fee? After passing several buildings, we stopped in front of the library. The fountain's water column shot straight up 2-3 meters high, turning into fragments of a broken rainbow under the sunlight. She stood on the steps for a long time without saying anything. It was then that I noticed her eyes were a little red. What's wrong? She took a deep breath. It's nothing. Let's take a picture. I found it strange. You mean, take one with me? She looked at me. You don't want to? I hesitated for a moment. All right. Although the request wasn't unreasonable, I still felt something was strange. Taking a souvenir photo together after just meeting doesn't make sense, but maybe this is just her rhythm. A passing student helped us take the picture. In the photo, she smiled very gently, while I was as stiff as a block of wood. She frowned. Why aren't you smiling? I answered perfunctorily. I couldn't think of anything happy. A flash of unhappiness crossed her eyes. She threw the phone into her bag and went upstairs. The restroom. After she disappeared around the corner, I paced around, silently scolding myself. She just wanted to keep a memory. Just a smile wouldn't have cost me anything. Why put on such a long face? I deserved to be single. Halfway through that thought, I felt a little guilty. After all, my heart still belongs to my colleague, Zhu Wanting. I can't, because of a roommate I've known for just one day, develop other thoughts. I've always considered myself not to be a petty person who lusts after beauty. This boundary cannot be crossed. Zhongcheng University has a lake. The lake's surface was as calm as a giant mirror, occasionally wrinkled by a gentle breeze. On this side of the lake, there is a small forest that everyone has tacitly given a nickname, Lover's Lane. Usually, single people who pass through here always feel a little guilty, as if they are not worthy of walking this path. The wind blew from the lake's surface, wrapping around Lin Ziming's strands of hair, carrying a faint scent of shampoo mixed with the early spring air. I slowed down, matching her pace, casually telling strange but interesting stories about the school. She just smiled and listened. There were some things she probably wasn't really interested in, but that gentleness seemed to be giving me an escape. After walking for a while, a melody suddenly sounded up ahead. A group of students stood in front of a flower bed. In the middle was a boy holding a guitar, a clean shirt, a sharp-featured face. The love song he sang wasn't perfect, but that seriousness was enough to make all the girls' eyes light up. The cheers were like crashing waves, wave after wave. Lin Zimong stopped there and didn't go any further. Tears suddenly welled up in her eyes. Heartbroken people probably have the lowest tolerance for love songs. Just touching that chord makes it impossible to pretend that nothing is wrong. She seemed to be trying hard to purse her lips, but she still couldn't hold it in. I fumbled around in my pocket. When I handed her the tissue I had conveniently stuffed in earlier, she glanced at me. The next second, Her whole body was buried in my chest. It was a truly defenseless reliance. I was so scared I froze on the spot. My hands hovered in the air, as if glued in place, not knowing where to put them down. My mind was blank. I couldn't even think of a single word of comfort. After she gradually calmed down, I awkwardly helped her wipe the spot on my clothes wet with tears and snot. "Sorry, I'll wash it for you," she said softly. "It's okay. I often drool on myself during my afternoon naps. On my clothes. This stain is nothing." I tried to tease her. As expected, she laughed. The smile, like spring sunshine melting in my heart, the love song from earlier and the tune she hummed this morning, made me think of a question. "Are you also a J-Chu fan?" She was stunned. I wasn't before, but I guess I am now. "So, do you have a favorite song?" "Too many. I really can't say." We continued walking along the lake. She started singing softly. Her sweet voice was like honey-infused soda water. Each line seemed to have its own flavor. It wasn't an imitation, but rather giving it new life. I'm naturally not good at singing, but spurred on by the atmosphere, I stubbornly sang a bit too. As a result, she was doubled over with laughter. "Your tone is so off. It could cross the ocean to visit relatives." I pretended to be fierce. "I was trying to comfort you, and you dare to complain." After leaving the school, we went to the nearby snack street. Hot oden paired with caramel milk tea. Sky-high calories, but it brought a rare happiness. "It's just that I don't eat fish." My bowl only had the bland broth. Seeing this, Lin Zimong didn't hesitate to put a beef ball into my bowl and said, "A reward for you." I responded with a piece of white radish. Not satisfied, I took the piece of tofu from her bowl. She immediately counterattacked. And so, the two bowls of food unconsciously became one. Sharing food. She suddenly asked, "You went to university here for 4 years. How many girls have you brought here?" I answered subconsciously, "None. I always went with my roommates." She raised an eyebrow. "Not even once." I was stunned for a moment, remembering the days gone by. Even though this place had become a spot I never got tired of eating at, I had never once come here with a girl. In that moment, I felt both bitter and helpless. I thought to myself, forget it. It's better not to bring it up. We wandered around aimlessly. It wasn't until night fell that we returned to the apartment door. As soon as I opened it, the scent of flowers rushed to greet me. The living room was as clean as a model home. Thinking back to when I lived with Jiang Chuan, the sour smell of socks mixed with the stench of sweat, I couldn't help but sigh with emotion. This is what it truly means to live like a human. Lin Ziming changed into her pajamas and put her hair up in a messy bun. She skillfully helped me wash my clothes. The sound of her light footsteps in the living room suddenly made me think of my parents back home. Perhaps they also keep each other company every day in such a quiet, simple life. She reminded me that I had work tomorrow and told me not to stay up too late typing. I replied with an okay and closed the bedroom door. As I leaned against the wall, I suddenly felt a little like crying. So this is how warm it feels to be cared for by someone else. Around 2 or 3 in the morning, I woke up needing to pee. As I stepped out of the bathroom, I was surprised to see her door slightly ajar. Although the doors in this apartment can't be locked, being closed but unlatched and being left ajar are two completely different things. I couldn't help but let my mind wander. Was she being so casual out of trust? Or was it some kind of hint? The faint light from outside the window seeped in, outlining her sleeping figure. A light fragrance lingered in the air. As a normal 23-year-old man, the impulse of that moment almost made me want to push the door open and go in, to hold her in my arms. But reason always pulled me back. I went back to my room. After lying down, my mind was filled with the image of her rushing into my arms this afternoon. Her warm breath felt like it could seep right into my bones. I cursed myself silently. Li Huanxian, it's only been 2 days. And she's already made you this restless. Just like an idiot who's never seen a girl before. Just as the sky was beginning to brighten, I was still drifting in my dreams when a piercing scream suddenly rang in my ears. It wasn't a rooster's crow. It was the sound of a rubber chicken, which startled me so much I almost fell out of bed. Lin Zimong stood at the door in a blue tracksuit, holding that screaming, mournful-looking chicken in her hand, like a mischievous coach. "Lazybones, it's 7 o'clock. Get up." I sleepily clung to my blanket, intending to sleep in a little longer. It was only 7. My dream wasn't even over yet. But when I thought of her name, and then thought of last night's dream, my face couldn't help but feel a little hot. That dream wasn't something I could just casually talk about. Lin Ziming completely ignored my perfunctory attitude, and directly reached out to pinch my ear. Her tone was serious. "House rule number 1. Wake up early for exercise." Strictly enforced. The image of Sun Wukong being squeezed by the golden fillet until he rolled on the ground appeared in my mind. So annoying, the bit of affection I had for her yesterday was instantly eroded by half. No matter how good a woman is, she can't take away my warm bed. In the end, under her forceful pulling, I was dragged out as if to an execution ground, leaving my warm bed and forced to face the cold morning air. She skipped around, urging me to wash my face quickly. While adjusting her ponytail, the tracksuit hugged her body snugly, radiating a healthy vitality, creating a stark contrast with my sleepy, lazy state. Leaving the residential complex, The air carried the chill accumulated from the previous night. This was the first time I had truly seen 7 a.m. in Jiangcheng. The willows along the river swayed gently in the wind, with dewdrops still clinging to their branches, reflecting the light. The rustling sound of sanitation workers' brooms swept across the ground. The Bayazi shop had just opened. The aroma of the meat filling mixed with steam wafted into my nose, making one suddenly hungry. The riverside path behind the complex had stone railings. Many elderly people were doing their morning exercises, but young faces were rare. Perhaps most people my age chose to stay in bed to catch up on sleep, leaving the morning to the older generation. Lin Ziman ran ahead, her ponytail swinging like a pendulum with a precise rhythm. I hadn't been running for long before my chest started to feel tight, and my legs felt like they were weighed down with lead. "Hey, do you really have to make me run? Can't you just let me laze around?" I asked while panting heavily. She stopped, turned around, her gaze very serious. "No one is born useless." This sentence inexplicably shook me. From childhood to adulthood, I've always been an average person. Neither outstanding nor flawed. Average looks, grades that always hovered around the middle. Not good at winning over girls. The friend I made after the class reshuffle in 11th grade made me seem even more mediocre. But she wasn't wrong. Everyone is the protagonist of their own story. If I have the chance to become a better version of myself, then why not try? I immediately caught my breath. No way. Are you kidding? I was a long-distance running champion in high school. After saying that, I tried to speed up and catch up to her. By now, the sun was fully out. The dewdrops on the willow leaves glistened green in the sunlight. After the run, we sat down for breakfast at the Bayazi shop. As I chewed on an ugly-looking saucy meat Bayazi, I asked, "I'm going to the office today. Where are you planning to go?" She squinted and said with a smile, "Just wander around, take some pictures, and sing for a bit." I was curious. Taking pictures, I get. But what's the singing for? She acted mysteriously. Later, y'all find out. 8:20. I finished changing and took the subway, arriving at the company at exactly 9. It's an advertising design company. I'm interning here as a designer. My monthly salary is 4,800 yuan, plus a meager commission. In Jiangcheng, that's just enough to not starve. Downstairs from the company, I caught a glimpse of a familiar figure, a ponytail, gold-rimmed glasses, a white striped shirt paired with a long blue skirt, looking as prim as if she'd stepped out of a literary magazine. It was Zhu Wanting, the girl I've had a crush on for over 2 months. I couldn't help but mentally compare her and Lin Zimong. Lin Zimong is like a sudden clap of thunder upon first meeting, catching you completely off guard, while Zhu Wanting is like a cup of warm tea that needs to be sipped slowly over time. The longer you do, the more comfortable it feels. If I were to introduce them to my parents, Zhu Wanting would definitely be praised by everyone. As for Lin Ziming, I'm afraid my mother would pull me aside and ask, "What on earth does that girl like about you?" Reason told me that my relationship with Lin Ziming was just a fleeting encounter. My feelings were most likely just infatuation due to her looks. A month later, she would leave, and we would probably never see each other again. Zhu Wanting was the real target. "Good morning, Wanting," I said. Thinking to myself, she smiled back. "Good morning." Many male colleagues at the company were pursuing her, but I always felt that the way she looked at me was a little different from how she looked at others. Maybe this was just my delusion that she liked me. We got into the elevator together, talking about the weekend. She said she stayed home reading and binge-watching shows, while I vaguely said, "I hung out with my roommate for 2 days." No need to emphasize the gender. I used to think math class was the longest torture in the world. Now I realize that an adult's job is much harder than being a student. If I could do it all over again, I definitely wouldn't read novels during class, but would study hard instead. I revised it 8 times all morning, but the design draft was rejected every time, and I even got a scolding from my superior. I kept imagining throwing the mouse at his face, and then shouting, "I quit." Of course, it was just a thought. In the afternoon, 2 consecutive messages brought bad news. My design still wasn't up to standard. Continue working overtime. The good news was, Zhu Wanting also had to work overtime. My chance had come. 5:30 in the afternoon. The senior employees clocked out on time. Someone patted my shoulder and said, "Keep it up." I wasn't sure if that was encouragement or gloating. Soon, only she and I were left in the office. I glanced at her, pretended to cough twice, and casually spoke up. "Wanting, want to get dinner together later." She looked up and thought for a moment, then said softly, "Okay." I was secretly delighted. It would still be early after dinner. Maybe we could even go see a movie. Just then, my phone vibrated once. The screen lit up with a line of text. "Meng, Meng. Are you off work yet? I forgot my house keys." I hid in the company bathroom, turned the faucet on to the lowest setting, and took out my phone to call Lin Zimang. The phone had barely rung once. When she picked up immediately, her voice was as sweet as a freshly peeled apple. "Hello, are you off work yet?" I frowned and tried to lower my voice. "My boss kept me back today. I have to work overtime. So I'll be home a little late. If you forgot your keys, why don't you find Uncle Zhang to help you open the door?" Her voice immediately softened, carrying a hint of pitifulness. "I looked for him, but he's not home. They said he went to the public square to dance." "So where are you?" I asked. sitting at the top of the stairs waiting for you." Her voice got even quieter. An image immediately appeared in my mind, a girl hugging her knees, sitting under the dim light of the hallway lamp. The night wind seeped in through the window crack, slightly messing up her long hair. That sense of loneliness made me soften. "All right, fine. I'll send you my company's location. You can come get the keys." I sighed. "Okay." She immediately regained her energy and hung up. I shook my head helplessly, sent the location, and silently complained in my heart, "Uncle John, you old flirt. If your wife's spirit in heaven knew you were out chasing girls every day, she would probably jump out of her grave and kick you." Returning to my desk, I started calculating. I absolutely could not let Zhu Wanting know that I and a campus belle-level roommate were living together under one roof. I've been single since birth. I haven't even won over one girl yet. How could I have the audacity to two-time anyone? When she arrives, I'll go downstairs to give her the keys and tell her to go home quickly. I still have to follow the original plan and have a pleasant dinner with Zhu Wanting. That's the main event for tonight. But plans are always fragile. By the time Zhu Wanting and I packed up to leave work, Lin Zimong still hadn't called. I had no choice but to shut down my computer, sling my backpack on, and get into the elevator with her, thinking that the restaurant was nearby anyway. I could just step out when I get the call. "Oh, hey Wanting, what kind of Chinese food do you like? Hot pot, barbecue, or Japanese?" She smiled. "Anything is fine." The two of them were walking and laughing just as they stepped out of the company's gate. A familiar figure appeared in the square. Lin Ziman. She was wearing a light purple knitted sweater and jeans paired with ankle boots. Her long hair flew gently in the evening breeze. She looked like she had stepped right out of a romance movie. The neon lights shone on her face, making her smile even more radiant. My heart skipped a beat, as if a bucket of cold water had been poured over me. "I mean, you could have come earlier or later. Why did you have to show up right now? Are you trying to kill me?" "Zion, over here." She waved enthusiastically. I really wanted to pretend I didn't see her, calling me so intimately. 2. She must have come here to sabotage me on purpose. If I'd known, I would have let her freeze in the stairwell all night. Zhu Wanting tilted her head and asked, "Is that your friend?" I scratched my head awkwardly. "Wanting, it's a bit complicated." Lin Zimong had already skipped over to us first. She shot me a fierce glare, then turned to Zhu Wanting, revealing a harmless smile. "Hello, you must be Lai Huangxian's colleague. Right, you're so pretty. I'm his roommate. My name is Lin Ziming. You can call me Meng Meng. You should come over to our place sometime." Zhu Wanting, who was naturally quiet, was stunned for a moment by her overwhelming enthusiasm and didn't reply. Meanwhile, I was cringing so hard my toes could have dug a mansion. 3 bedrooms and 2 living rooms. She wasn't this talkative 2 days ago. I hurriedly took out the keys and stuffed them into her hand, constantly signaling with my eyes for her to leave. She blinked her big eyes. "Aren't you going home?" "I haven't eaten yet." I continued to signal. "I haven't eaten either." She pouted and looked pitifully at Zhu Wanting. Zhu Wanting said politely, "Since you're all friends, let's just eat together." Lin Ziming immediately nodded. "Okay." I was screaming internally. She was just being polite. Why did you take it so seriously? I've never seen anyone so shameless. Just like that, the 3 of them went to the food court next to the company. Honestly, walking with either one of them would be enough to make passersby envious. But walking with both of them was like a scene from a street commercial. Lin Zimong quickly engaged Zhu Wanting in a lively conversation, like they were best friends who had known each other for years. I followed behind like a servant without a chance to get a word in. They didn't even ask for my opinion and decided on barbecue. As expected, in a barbecue with 2 women and 1 man, the guy is the one responsible for grilling. I had just finished grilling the first batch when they were already urging me to grill the second. Lin Zimong wasn't just talking enthusiastically. She also kept putting food on Zhu Wanting's plate. Zhu Wanting was also drawn in by her and gradually opened up. "You've read that novel too." I cried so hard at the ending. "Yes, I'm a Cancer. So very emotional. I cry easily when watching movies or reading books." "You're so pretty. And you have a great personality. You must have a lot of admirers." Right. The more they talked, the more they got along. It seemed they had completely forgotten about my existence as the meat griller. Oh my god. End this torture quickly. Over an hour later, the 2 of them finally said they couldn't eat anymore. Even though I was only half full, I immediately called the waiter for the bill. 250 yuan. Consider it a lesson learned. If I'm soft-hearted again next time, then I'm truly beyond saving. Zhu Wanting's home was at the subway entrance on the other side. After saying goodbye, as soon as she was out of sight, I couldn't help but scold. What was that all about? Lin Ziman blinked. Wasn't it just mooching a meal? Why are you being so stingy? I got angry. I kept signaling you to leave, but you insisted on staying. Now she definitely misunderstands us. She suddenly asked. Her, is she the girl you said you liked? I frowned. Who else could it be? She chuckled lightly. She's pretty and gentle. She suits you well. Her voice carried a faint trace of loneliness. My heart stirred. Why did that sound so sour? Was she jealous? No way. Could I conquer a goddess like her in just 3 days? I'm not that confident. On the subway, she kept her head down in silence, completely different from her lively self at the barbecue restaurant. Seeing her like this, the anger in my heart dissipated. Upon arriving home, the scent of flowers greeted me. She changed into her slippers and asked softly, "You're still hungry, aren't you?" I was stunned. "How did you know?" "Let me cook you some noodles," she said and walked into the kitchen. Her back looked gentle under the light. The aroma of vinegar noodles filled the air. I lowered my head and slurped the noodles loudly. The refreshing sourness and savory flavor warmed my stomach as they went down. In that moment, I forgot my earlier frustration. Across the table, Lin Zimong rested her chin on her hands and watched me. Her eyes were as clear as still water, with a faint smile at the corners of her mouth. "Are you still mad?" Her voice drifted over softly, as if afraid to disturb me. A delicious bowl of noodles is like a piece of sweet candy, enough to make someone's heart melt. When you eat someone's food, you can't be harsh. Where would I find the courage to be tough anymore? She's always like this. One moment, she makes you grind your teeth. The next, she offers a tenderness you can't refuse, leaving me completely spun around. If she were truly a scheming woman, I'm afraid my meager defenses would have long been devoured. Without even a crumb left, I remembered what Zhang Wuji's mother said, "Beautiful women are never harmless." I remained silent. She suddenly reached out and shook my arm. I really didn't mean to do it. I was just so hungry then. She blinked again, her eyes filled with a lethal sense of grievance. "I know I was wrong. Will you forgive me? I promise I won't do it again." Her eyes shimmered with unshed tears. For a man who's been single since birth, this was truly a knockout blow. The walls around my heart crumbled in an instant. I could only sigh. All right. I'm not mad anymore. Your noodles are delicious." She immediately beamed. "I knew you were the best. Remember to wash the bowl after you're done. I'm going to take a shower." The moment the bathroom door closed, I slapped myself hard 3 times in my room, bribed by a single bowl of noodles. "You are a disgrace to all men." I silently made a resolution. If she does this again next time, then an evil plan not suitable for public disclosure is omitted. While washing the bowl, the sound of running water came from the bathroom, once again making my mind wander. If I push the door open right now, no, this thought is too wild. I guess I'm not the only man who would have impulsive thoughts in this situation, but reason reminded me that this is a path of no return. Back in my room, I opened my laptop and logged into that novel website. I've published 40,000 words and have a small backlog of drafts. Readers are few and far between, a new author wanting to become famous. Even if you reach the word count for a recommendation, the failure rate is still 90%, unless you're a God-given prodigy of web literature. That kind of person is 1 in 10,000. Suddenly, a system notification appeared, received from a user named Leo Meteor Shower, a small, free gift. The message was only 2 words. Keep it up. 2 short words. Yet they made me feel a surge of warmth in the empty room late at night. I immediately replied with 1 sentence. "Thank you. I will do my best." The relationship between an author and a reader is truly magical. They find empathy in your story, and you receive the strength to continue writing from their support. After writing until 11:30, I let out a long yawn, turned off the computer, washed my face, and got into bed. The room was pitch black. Lin Zimong's and Zhu Wanting's faces were like movie slides, flashing one after another in my mind. I kept telling myself, the one I like is Zhu Wanting. Is Zhu Wanting. Is Zhu Wanting. Don't get confused. Zhu Wanting is the gentle, introverted type of girl, perhaps the ideal life partner for me in the future. As for Lin Ziming, she's just a thorny rose making a temporary stop in my life. After a month, she'll just pack up and leave, and she might even leave a scar on my heart. But how can a person's heart be completely controlled by commands? My dream that night was still filled with images of Lin Ziman, her lazy, alluring charm, her faint smile, and many more details that I could only enjoy alone in my dream. 7 in the morning. The sound waves from the screaming chicken mercilessly entered my ears. My legs instinctively clamped together, and I jolted awake. "What are you doing out here?" I called out to her. She smiled like a child who had snuck some candy. "Get up in 5 minutes for a run." Looking at her retreating figure, I felt a pang of guilt. This must be the guilt from dreaming about something naughty. I have to buy a door latch today, to prevent the door from being ajar at night and disturbing my virtuous mind. The morning light pierced through the clouds, illuminating the willow branches along the riverbank. The woman with her hair in a ponytail ran ahead, her back as radiant as a sunbeam. I ran while muttering like chanting a sutra. "Don't fall for her. Don't fall for her." This was probably a form of self-deception. When I got to the office, I immediately went to Zhu Wanting's desk and delivered my prepared lines. "Wanting, I need to explain something. Meng Meng living with me was an accident. I was still sleeping at the time, and the landlord brought her in directly. We're just normal roommates. Yesterday, she forgot her key, so she came back to find me." The more I spoke, the more it sounded like I was covering something up. My logic as tangled as a pair of headphones. Zhu Wanting pushed up her glasses and smiled calmly. "Who you want to live with is your own business. Why are you explaining it to me?" My heart instantly sank. "We're just colleagues. What right did I have to explain these things to her?" She continued, "I think Meng Meng is very lovely. It must be fun to be her friend." I forced a bitter smile, feeling like this scene was a trap set by Lin Zimong, and I had unwittingly walked right into it. What was even stranger was, Zhu Wanning didn't seem to mind at all, and even spoke well of Lin Zimong. The illusion that she liked me was cruelly exposed in this moment. Just as I was feeling dejected, she suddenly added, "It's okay. Let's make plans another time when there's a chance." Another time was like a small, lingering bit of warmth, pulling me out of the icy water. It seems I haven't been completely eliminated yet. I worked with exceptional enthusiasm for the rest of the day. I don't know if it was because of my good mood or the effect of the morning run. Near the end of the workday, Lin Zimong sent a message. "Are you coming home on time tonight? I've already gone to the market to buy food. I'll cook dinner later." I stared at the screen, hesitating, and finally replied, "Okay, I'll send you the money for the food. Let's split it." Then I sent a transfer request, but it was never accepted. I felt a little guilty in this situation. On one hand, I was thinking of Zhu Wanting, but on the other, I was enjoying Lin Zimong's kindness. It didn't feel right, no matter how I looked at it, but I've had a crush on Zhu Wanting for over 2 months. I can't just change my feelings. After knowing Lin Zimong for only 3 days, wouldn't that make me a scumbag who falls for anyone? Perhaps this is what true conflict is. Your mind tells you to turn left, but your heart uncontrollably leans to the right. Pushing the door open, the aroma of food hit me like a warm wave. Even the lighting seemed gentler than usual. At that moment, I couldn't help but think to myself, "Zhang Chuan, you really brought me good fortune." In the kitchen, Lin Zimong was wearing a light-colored apron, her slippers shuffling softly on the floor. She was focused on seasoning the food at the stove, her waist forming a curve under the light that made one stop and stare. Seeing me, she turned around and smiled. "You're back. Go wash your hands quickly. Get ready for dinner." This smile carried a sense of joy, like a sharp sword piercing straight through my heart. A girl who can bring you tenderness when you come home. Can you really bring yourself to hate her? Sitting at the dinner table, I couldn't help but exclaim, Meng, how did you know I like these dishes?" She glanced up at me. "I think you're a glutton. Yeah, I'll eat anything. Is there any food you don't like?" I was momentarily speechless. Thinking about it, there really wasn't any food I particularly disliked, except for not eating fish after I turned 18. It wasn't a matter of taste, but to remember an old friend. She served me the first piece of food and casually asked, "Was work tiring today?" I grinned. It's probably because of the morning run. I was in a great state all day. Even my picky boss couldn't be bothered to find fault with me. She beamed. "Then let's run again tomorrow." I quickly shook my head. Today was just an exception. I can't guarantee tomorrow. I suddenly remembered. This morning I was planning to buy a door latch, so I wouldn't be disturbed by her sudden morning exercises. But her good intentions made me hesitate. Perhaps she was really helping me become a better version of myself. The atmosphere at the dinner table felt a bit like that of a newlywed couple. The wife cares about her husband's work, and the husband talks about his day. Simple, yet purely warm. The night breeze blew in from between the green plants on the windowsill, carrying a faint fragrance. After dinner, I proactively cleared the dishes. Most men are domesticated step by step like this. One person cooks, the other washes the dishes, which is fair. When I was done, I went back to my room to get ready to write. Not long after, she brought in some cut fruit. "How far have you gotten with the novel?" I pushed the laptop over. "See for yourself." I took the fruit plate and put a piece in my mouth with a toothpick. I suddenly remembered how she always served me first during dinner. So I hesitated for a moment and offered the piece of fruit to her lips. She was slightly taken aback, then opened her mouth to accept it, her eyes still fixed on the screen. This small, unintentional act made my heart race inexplicably. I could no longer taste the fruit in my mouth. She quickly finished reading the new chapter, pouted and said, "It's not good. A science person like you still writes this kind of story a bit awkwardly." I gave a bitter smile. "Can't you say something nicer?" She raised an eyebrow and muttered, "Fine, your writing style is just average. But if the emotions are a little more genuine, the readers will be moved." A blunt comment, delivered somewhat casually, but it was the truth. The truth is always a bit harsh to hear, but it also served as a reminder to me that my writing really needed more practice. I showed her the message from the reader Leo Meteor Shower, trying to save some face. She casually teased, "Someone with such a childish nickname is most likely a childish person." Curiosity prompted me to search for this name. The results appeared quickly. The Leonid Meteor Shower is known as the king of meteor showers, at its most magnificent in mid-November each year. The sky is full of shooting stars, their long tails tracing silver curves across the night sky, like the tears of the heavens slowly falling. I casually opened a video. The vast Milky Way, endless meteor light. The background music was a familiar love song. "Let's go watch the meteor shower fall upon this earth together, and let your tears fall on my shoulder." Suddenly, her shoulders trembled slightly. I turned to look. Lin Zimong, her eyes were filled with tears. She murmured, "So beautiful," and leaned on my shoulder. My body immediately stiffened. I didn't dare to move. I could only smell the fragrance from her hair and watch the shooting stars streak across the screen one by one. That sadness quietly spread to me. I sighed inwardly. Girls are always more sensitive than guys to these kinds of romantic scenes, especially since she seemed to have come to Zhongcheng to get away from something. It was probably related to a breakup, and me, single since birth. What did I have to be sad about? The video ended, and we both remained silent for a long time. Her tear fell on my shoulder, perfectly matching the scene in the lyrics. I mustered my courage for a moment and said softly, Meng, next month is November. If you like, we can go see a real meteor shower. She shook her head, her voice resolute. It'll be gone next month. I blurted out, do you have to go? She paused at the door, her shoulders trembling slightly, but she didn't turn back. I have to go. Slam. The door closed. Only a faint trace of her fragrance remained in the air. My heart felt empty, as if someone had carved out a piece of it. Tears rolled down my cheeks, falling onto the keyboard. I laughed bitterly. What is this? We've only known each other for 4 days. We're not strangers anymore, but we can't be called close either. And yet crying for her. Am I too weak? I rubbed my face, trying to focus on typing. The words felt like they were being dug out of the thick mud in my heart. It was incredibly difficult. Until almost 12 o'clock, my shoulders were aching, and drowsiness washed over me. I turned off the computer, washed my face. And when I came back, as I passed through the living room, I heard soft sobs coming from the next room. I paused and knocked gently on the door. Meng, are you okay? A choked reply came from inside. Fine, you should go to bed early. I hesitated, then brought a glass of warm water and pushed the door open to enter the room. Jiang Chuan used to live here. I'd been here countless times, familiar with every step. She was sitting at the head of the bed, hugging a pillow. Her bare feet, as exquisite as hand-carved porcelain, made it hard to look away. I handed her the water and said awkwardly, drink some warm water and get a good night's sleep. Some people aren't worth occupying your heart. Forget it. She looked up, her eyes red and swollen, and suddenly threw her arms around me. Her tears started flowing again. The glass in my hand nearly slipped. Meng, what is it in your heart that you can't let go of? I comforted Lin Ziming for a long time, only leaving and turning off the light after she had fallen asleep. Passing through the living room, I couldn't help but let out a heavy sigh. I admit I was a little jealous that there was a man who a girl like Meng couldn't forget, who caused her such heart-wrenching pain. How could he not cherish her? Lying in bed, I tossed and turned, unable to sleep again. I have to go. This answer from Lin Ziming kept echoing in my ears. If she is definitely leaving in over 20 days, then I shouldn't get lost in this relationship to avoid sinking deeper and being unable to escape. If I miss out on Zhu wanting because of Lin Ziming and end up with nothing, a smart man should calculate the opportunity cost, even in matters of love. But ever since I was young, I don't seem to be the smart type. The next few days passed peacefully. I went to work as usual, battling wits with my boss, exchanging a few words with Zhu wanting occasionally. Things were bland after work. Whenever I got home, Lin Ziming always had a delicious dinner ready and would excitedly share where she went that day, taking lots of pictures. The novel, which I updated with 2 chapters a day, also received a few scattered comments, but the most loyal reader was still Leo Meteor Shower, a small, free gift every day, without fail, until Friday. I felt I couldn't just sit and wait. I had to take the initiative. If I didn't make a move soon, some scumbag might snatch Zhu wanting away. After all, there's only one piece of meat, but a whole pack of wolves. At noon, Zhu Wanning and I had lunch together. I pretended to be casually scrolling through my phone, then said in surprise, "Oh, I've been waiting for this movie for a long time. It's finally out. Wanting. Do you like it?" Zhu Wanning took the phone to look and smiled. "It looks quite good. I quite like the theme and the actors." I had done my research beforehand, deliberately choosing an artsy romantic film, targeting an artsy girl like Zhu Wanting. She had no reason not to like it. Since tomorrow is the weekend and we don't have to wake up early, how about we go see it together after work? I tried to keep my tone natural, so it wouldn't seem too deliberate. Zhu Wanning tilted her head and thought for a moment, then nodded. Okay, I stayed calm. Alright then, I'll buy the tickets now. I intentionally bought tickets for the 8:30 p.m. show, so we could have dinner before the movie, stroll around the mall. It would be more relaxed. After the movie ended, it would be almost 11 p.m., and who knows, I might even get to take Zhu Wanning home. That way, our feelings would surely grow warmer after it was all settled. I sent a message to Lin Ziming. The company has a party tonight. I won't be back for dinner. A moment later, Lin Ziming replied, "Okay, come home early. Don't drink too much." Reading this sentence, I suddenly felt a sense of guilt. It was like having a good wife at home, while I was out fooling around. Immediately after, I quickly dismissed this thought. We're just roommates. There's no special relationship. Besides, a few days ago she was crying over her ex-boyfriend, so I, of course, have the right to pursue happiness too. That whole afternoon, I was completely distracted at work. I kept searching for dating tips online, learning how to make a good impression on girls, hoping for a perfect date. Just before quitting time, Zhu Wanning suddenly ran over, saying with an apologetic look, "Li Huangshuan, I'm so sorry. My parents are making me go home for dinner tonight, so I can't go to the movies with you anymore." My facial muscles twitched a little, then I forced a smile. "It's okay. Actually, I didn't really want to see it that much anyway. Really sorry. I didn't mean to stand you up. I'll definitely go with you next time. Zhu Wanting apologized very sincerely, since Shed already said this much. What else could I do? I could only smile on the outside, while crying on the inside. Next time, we'll eat together. Next time, we'll drink together. Next time, we'll watch a movie together. There are too many next times in this world that never happen. I was extremely dejected, took out my phone, and was about to cancel the movie tickets. Suddenly, I had an idea, and called Lin Ziming. Hello, Meng. About the company party. I don't want to go. How about we go see a movie? Okay. Lin Zimon agreed immediately, her voice filled with obvious joy. Then come to my company building. I get off work at 5:30. I hung up, feeling uneasy. I'm such a bad person. If Meng knew that I only called her because the other girl couldn't go, I wonder how sad she would be. On second thought, it's precisely because of this mindset that I can never be a scumbag, and why I am still a single dog. From now on, I have to be a bad man after work. As soon as I walked out of the company gate, I saw Lin Ziming sitting quietly on a bench in the plaza. A black jacket paired with jeans and small leather boots gave her a super cool biker style. The men passing by couldn't help but glance at her a few times. Meng, have you been waiting long? I walked over under the envious gazes of others. No, I just sat down a little while ago. Lin Zimong smiled and stood up. Her aura could freely switch between alluring and innocent. The two of us went to the food court to find something to eat first. This time we chose a Sichuan restaurant. Before she had eaten more than a few bites, Lin Zimong's small face was already flushed red from the spiciness. I thoughtfully poured tea for her and handed her a tissue. The dating tips I learned in the afternoon for Zhu Wanting were now all being used on Meng. You seem to have become much more considerate. Lin Ziming noticed the change in me. Not at all. I've always been like this, I replied shamelessly. Why did you suddenly ask me to a movie? No reason. I wanted to cheer you up, so I asked you to a movie. Have you asked that gentle colleague of yours to a movie yet? No, I never intended to. Faced with Meng's question, I replied flawlessly. As expected, girls need to be sweet talk. Lin Ziming smiled like a child and kept putting delicious food into my bowl. After dinner, there was still half an hour before the movie started. The two of us strolled through the mall, just like a couple. I gazed at Lin Zimong's perfect side profile and couldn't help but start fantasizing again. If I were a little braver, a little more determined, would she be willing to stay for me? Her I have to go. Couldn't she change her mind for me? Arriving at the movie theater, as is customary, we had to buy some Coke and popcorn. I held 2 iced Cokes and gave one to Lin Zimong. Lin Zimong took a sip and suddenly asked, when was the first time you asked a girl to a movie? I was stunned. My mind went blank. After thinking for a long time, I finally stammered, I think this is the first time. Lin Ziming looked deep into my eyes. Is this really your first time? Faced with Lin Ziming's sharp gaze, I chose to look away. After all, I'm almost 24. It's a bit embarrassing that this is my first time seeing a movie with a girl. The love manual says, when a guy is on a date with a girl, he absolutely can't appear timid. You have to act confident and at ease. The more you act like an old pro, the more attractive you are to girls. Meng, let's go into the theater first. I suggested we not wait any longer. Anyway, the beginning is just the movie studio's opening animations. Lin Ziming's gaze fell on the claw machine next to us. I got the hint and paid 20 yuan for her. Lin Ziming was very happy, skillfully operating the joystick, muttering a spell under her breath. All toys, get in position. Who will be the first doll to be caught? Let's go. Soon, the 20 yuan was all gone. Even a national server's Zhang Qi couldn't carry this game. It was past 8:30. The movie had already started. The two of us fumbled our way into the dark theater. The big screen was indeed showing the opening animations, so we didn't miss any of the main part. It's too dark. Give me a pull. Lin Ziming grabbed the hem of my shirt. I froze, and my heart immediately started pounding. I took the popcorn box in my left hand and held it to my chest with my right arm, then reached my hand back. The moment I touched her fingertips, it felt like an electric shock. Lin Ziming's hand was very soft and also very warm. My entire body, except for my left hand, felt completely numb everywhere else. I didn't even know which foot to step with as I walked. Bending over, we squeezed past a row of legs and found our seats just as the main movie started. Hey, you can let go now. Oh, I secretly glanced at Lin Ziming's side profile and saw her sipping her drink through a straw, intently watching the big screen, completely unfazed by the physical contact just now. Could she have deliberately waited until the lights went out to come in, just so she could hold my hand? This thought popped into my head, and even I found it ridiculous. Like an old peacock spreading its tail, getting full of myself. After that, the two of us watched the movie seriously. The popcorn box was placed in the middle, and occasionally when we both reached for popcorn, our fingertips would touch. This feeling of touching and then pulling away was a bit addictive. After that, I deliberately watched Lin Ziming from the corner of my eye and intentionally reach out my hand at the same time as her, completely forgetting that these tips were originally prepared for another girl. This was a romance movie, so it was full of romantic and intimate scenes, which were very visually impactful. Plus, sitting next to a great beauty, whose body gave off a faint fragrance. I felt more and more uncomfortable, squirming in my seat, crossing and uncrossing my legs, trying to find a more comfortable position. Lin Zimeng suddenly turned her head. "Do you need to go to the bathroom?" I was so embarrassed, I said. "It's the Coke. I drank too much." "Then let's go together." Lin Zimeng took the initiative and held out her hand. The two of us held hands again and bent over as we left the theater. As soon as I got to the bathroom, I slapped myself in the face. So useless. Back in college, I and perverts like Zhang Chuan in the dorm often studied adult films. I thought I was used to the storm, impervious to all poisons, but I didn't expect that I couldn't even handle this little thing. I wonder if Meng Meng noticed something was off with me. Girls take much longer in the bathroom than guys. I put both hands in my pockets, leaned against the door, and waited for a long time before Lin Zimeng came out. She bent over to wash her hands, her stunningly beautiful face reflected in the mirror. "Is it beautiful?" Lin Zimeng asked. "Beautiful. You're the most beautiful girl I've ever met." I couldn't help but blurt it out. I was asking about the movie. I really wanted to bang my head against the wall and die. She just used a basic attack and baited out my ultimate skill. The two of them held hands for the third time and returned to their seats. My palms were sweating, chanting 100 times. The mantra "don't fall in love with her" was no longer effective. My heart completely refused to listen to reason. The second half of the movie started to have tear-jerking scenes. Meng Meng is a sentimental girl. Her tears fell like rain. Luckily, I had prepared the love manual beforehand. I had enough tissues in my pocket, and I kept passing them to her one by one. When people are moved by plots in novels and movies, it's mostly because they relate to them. She must have had an unforgettable love story too. When the movie ended, Lin Zimeng's eyes were swollen from crying. I was so busy passing her tissues that I paid no attention to the movie's plot at all. I looked like a completely heartless person, leaving the movie theater. It was almost 11 o'clock. The two of us walked in the autumn wind, stepping on fallen leaves as we headed towards the subway station. We could still catch the last train. Lin Zimeng softly hummed a song. "Give me 2 more minutes. Let me freeze the memory. Don't melt my tears. My makeup is already smudged. How can I remember? Remember that you told me to forget. Remember that you told me to forget." Hearing this song, an indescribable sadness filled my heart. I suddenly stopped walking and took Lin Zimeng's arm. "Meng, Meng, do you have someone you can't forget?" Lin Zimeng's tears immediately streamed down her face. "Yes. I'll never be able to forget him in this lifetime." The autumn wind blew her tears away, silently falling onto the fallen leaves. It seemed like she was hiding a huge secret in her heart, but she couldn't share it with anyone. "Why do you all have such unforgettable, passionate, fiery loves?" I remembered my deceased best friend, and tears blurred my vision too. "Silly boy. If you could choose, never choose a passionate love. Choose a simple love instead," Lin Zimeng said emotionally. I took out the last tissue and helped Lin Zimeng wipe away the tear stains on her face. I mustered all my courage and asked, Meng, are you willing to let go of the past and start a new life?" Lin Zimeng looked up at me, choked up and unable to speak, as if she was making a difficult decision. I could clearly feel that she wasn't completely uninterested in me. Otherwise, she wouldn't have happily come on this date and even taken the initiative to hold my hand. She must have some unavoidable hardship. "All right, then, if you don't want to answer, I'm willing to give you time. After all, there are still more than 20 days left." I took a step back. After all, we've only known each other for a few days. We can't be too hasty, especially with a girl who's been hurt in love before. She'll definitely be extremely cautious when entering a new relationship. "Silly boy." Lin Zimeng stopped crying and smiled. We took the subway home. After getting out of the subway station, we still had to walk for a bit. Lin Zimeng had adjusted her mood and started talking about the movie. The jade bracelet on her wrist made a clear sound. I watched the autumn wind blow through the girl's long hair and clearly heard my own heart flutter. But there was always a sense of unease enveloping my heart that I couldn't shake off. Those familiar lyrics also kept replaying in my head. Our beginning was a very long movie that played for 3 years. I still have the ticket. The ballet on ice is still spinning in my mind. Looking at you, then slowly forgetting you. I met you. Was it destined to be just a fleeting dream? Give me the movie ticket stub. I'll keep it as a souvenir. When we got home, Lin Zimeng made a request. I didn't think much of it and took the slightly crumpled stub out of my pocket. Girls often like to collect these things. It was past 11 o'clock. My laziness kicked in. I didn't really want to type, but I felt bad for that loyal reader. I struggled for a while. After I came out of the shower, she knocked softly on the door. "Don't stay up too late. We have to get up early for a run tomorrow." I replied through the door, "Okay. Good night." A week had passed, and I had been tamed, with no intention of resisting at all. I've heard it only takes 21 days for a person to form a habit. Are you an angel sent by God to turn me into a better person? The next day was Saturday. Lin Zimeng and I spent our second weekend together. After our run, while we were having breakfast at the Bayazi shop, Lin Zimeng passed her phone over. "Let's go to Luong Mountain this weekend." I knew Luong Mountain was 50 kilometers from Jiangcheng, a famous sanctuary for viewing maple leaves. Every autumn, the mountains are covered in fiery red maple leaves. A magnificent sight. It was October now, the best season for viewing maple leaves. Lin Meng's phone screen showed a promotional picture for Luong Mountain tourism. Meng. A trip to Luong Mountain usually takes 2 days, I said cautiously. What I mean is, we would have to spend the night somewhere else, a man and a woman. It could easily give people the wrong idea. That's right. We'll go this morning and come back tomorrow afternoon. Lin Meng blinked her big, innocent eyes, seemingly not understanding what I meant. Then, okay, I agreed. If a girl like her wasn't afraid, what was there for a guy like me to be afraid of? We decided and went. The two of us went home, packed some luggage, and then went to the bus station to catch a bus. 50 kilometers isn't far. It took an hour to get there. On the bus, Lin Meng said, "You sit by the window. You can sunbathe." Of course. I agreed and sat on the aisle side. Maybe because I went to bed late last night, I started dozing off as soon as I got on the bus. I don't know when my head tilted to the side. The bus swayed, like a cradle from childhood. When I opened my eyes again, I found myself leaning steadily on Lin Meng's shoulder to let me sleep more comfortably. She had even deliberately leaned over. "Ah, sorry, I didn't drool on you. Did I?" I quickly apologized. "It's okay. You being able to come with me already makes me very happy." Lin Meng smiled brightly. I realized that when she put away her domineering attitude and revealed her gentle side, it was truly devastatingly charming. After getting off the bus, the two of us first strolled through the old town at the foot of the mountain. But all old towns look the same nowadays, almost like a Yiwu small commodity wholesale market. It's hard to buy any distinctive products. Lin Meng was in a great mood, skipping as she walked, curiously picking up any toy she saw to play with for a bit, before putting it back. The sunlight shone on her, like a flower blooming in autumn. I walked behind her, with a constant smile on my face. I was absolutely certain that any other man would also be infatuated with such a girl. We got terribly ripped off for lunch in town. In the afternoon, we started climbing the mountain. Luong Mountain is divided into a front mountain and a back mountain. The front mountain has many Buddhist temples and Taoist monasteries, mostly cultural landscapes. The back mountain is an almost undeveloped natural landscape, with magnificent fiery red maple leaves covering the entire mountain. They came here to see the maple leaves, so they started climbing from the back mountain. The steps paved with green flagstone have been worn smooth by tourists. The winding stone path, with no end in sight, easily brings a famous ancient poem to mind. Far up the cold mountain, a stone path ascends slantwise, where white clouds are born. There are houses. I stopped my carriage to admire the maple woods at dusk. The frosted leaves are redder than February flowers. On the mountainside, the air was very fresh. Lin Meng was excited, taking pictures as she walked, capturing clusters of fiery red maple leaves in her lens. I don't like taking pictures. I feel that beautiful scenery is meant to be seen with the eyes. But when Lin Meng suggested we take a photo together, I didn't hesitate for a second. Under a tall maple tree, a young man and woman smiled radiantly. Fiery red maple leaves covered the ground. The fresh mountain breeze blew through the beautiful girl's long hair. Lin Meng suggested, "Let's each pick the most beautiful maple leaf to give to each other as a gift." I agreed. "Okay, my aesthetic sense is definitely better than yours." As I spoke, my heart was pounding. These were clearly romantic things that only couples do. The distance between the two of us was gradually closing. After walking around the maple forest for a long time, I finally picked a maple leaf I was satisfied with. Its level of perfection was almost like the Canadian flag. Lin Meng had also finished picking. The leaf in her hand was as red as fire. She took out a pen and passed it to me. "Let's each write a sentence for the other person." I was completely immersed in this little game. The air seemed to be filled with the sweet taste of love. I held the pen and thought for a long time, before finally mustering the courage to write a sentence. "Can you stay?" Lin Meng had also finished writing. She turned the leaf over and gave it to me. "You can't look now. It would be embarrassing to look in front of me. Look at it tonight." I had no choice but to agree, letting her put the maple leaf in her backpack. Mine was also put into Lin Meng's backpack. The suspense was maintained for now. After that, I was on edge, like I had just sent a confession text, waiting for a reply from the girl I love. The feeling was like burning impatience, scratching my head and ears, extremely uncomfortable. At the same time, I was guessing what Meng would write for me. The two of them continued climbing the mountain. Lin Meng was a girl. After all, her stamina wasn't enough. Her face was flushed and she was panting. I held out my hand. Meng, let me pull you up to that pavilion up there. Well, rest for a bit." Lin Meng didn't hesitate, and naturally took my hand. Perhaps yesterday at the movie theater was a rehearsal. Meng's hand was soft and delicate, as if boneless. If I could, I really wanted to hold on and never let go. We occasionally met other tourists on the path, and when they saw such a sweet couple, they would all cast envious glances. Perhaps this is what love looks like at its most beautiful. When we reached the pavilion and sat down, I drank some mineral water, looked at the wind chimes and said, "You sing so well. Sing a song for me." Lin Meng found her key, and then slowly began to sing. Her melodious voice echoed through the maple forest. The maple leaves slowly fall, like my longing. I light a candle to warm the late autumn. The aurora takes over the horizon. The north wind brushes past. Remembering your face, I burn my love into fallen leaves. But I can't get that familiar face in return. Halfway through the song, a clear teardrop rolled down from the corner of Lin Ximing's eye. I also felt as if I'd been struck by something. Tears welled up from the bottom of my heart, blurring my vision. I didn't know what she was sad about, and I didn't know what I was sad about either.